Hey, how we looking?
Let's see. All gassed up. We are ready to go. Did everybody go to the bathroom?
Yes, Dad.
Okay, does everybody have everything then?
I got the snacks, so I'm Gucci.
Shui.
All right then, here we go. Hello everyone and welcome to the Perfect Parry podcast. My name is Ryan Seals.
Jade over here.
And I'm Fox.
And we're here today to take a heaping shit on Fallout 76.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll get to Fallout 76 in a minute. In the meantime, hey Fox, what have you been playing lately?
So I've been playing a good helping of Civ 6 on the Switch. So I don't want to say a major fan because I've only really played 4 and 5, but I really dig the Civ games just because it scratches a very particular itch when it comes to like strategy type games. Because typically I only play like tactical RPGs like your Fire Emblems and Advanced War stuff. And 4X games are like an entirely different breed of tactical type dealings because there's so much more to balance. Have either of you played a Civ game?
I have a confession to make about Civ games. I can't play Civ games. They give me like an extreme amount of anxiety because like I already make spreadsheets when I'm playing Stardew Valley, which by the way is normal.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
That's
it's
serial killer
completely normal. And you know, I'm not even the only one who does it. But
yeah, other serial killers do it too.
Oh my god. Look.
If you're a serial killer, leave a comment.
Oh my god. But anyway, like, I get really, like, planny and neurotic with my games and stuff, but then, like, put that on top of the pressure of potentially starting a war with 2 countries and me getting, like, way too into it, and I'm just like, oh god, I'm gonna be responsible for the deaths of thousands of families. I can't. I have to think about the economy.
I can actually 100% get that because there are moments where it does feel a bit overwhelming, like how many cogs there are to think about. There's so many different mechanics to think about at any given time. Ryan, have you played any?
Yeah. I can't really relate to that experience because I'm not a scrub. But yeah, no, I played a lot of Civ 5, I want to say.
Did you play the like completed version with all the
Yeah.
Okay, because that is the I think most fans would say that's the best version of it because that's where they included. I'm pretty sure that's both when they included the religious aspect, the religion part, as well as I think they added more of the diplomacy mechanics to it. I think that was already in the base game, but I think they added to it, and as well as a few other things.
Well, I feel like every Civ game is basically made to be expanded upon, and like the vanilla game is always good, but it doesn't become like capital C Civ until like the last expansion pack gets
until you get the
dropped for
definitive, because that's when they realize what they can do to add to it. Because Civ 6, I haven't touched the recent expansion, but the next expansion is going to be adding in like nature to it. So there's going to be like hurricanes and volcanoes and tsunamis, and you have to, if you're by like a, I don't know if they're going to be active. They haven't really given any specifications as far as I know. If your city's located near a mountain, then you'd probably have to prepare for a possible volcano or something. Or if you're a coastal town, you'd have to put up, what are those called that block high ocean tides?
The wave breaker thingies?
Jetties?
Yeah. You have to build those kind of things to defend against possible like tsunamis. So it adds an extra. They always add like extra layers of mechanics to make you even more like anxious about every decision.
That sounds like people who aren't used to typhoons and hurricanes and stuff. Because if you're not weak, then you just swim through it and loot people's houses whenever a typhoon hits.
But remember, you got to be like running the city, so you need to make sure like that's not happening.
I really hope that they commit and go like full Red Alert 2 on it and just give you like a weather control device at the end, like in the end game.
I could legitimately see something to that degree being in like a science research thing at the end game, at like the very, very end game.
That would be so dope, just like sending like hurricanes at like rival civilizations.
But with Civ 6, have you played any? Do you know anything about this recent changes with 6?
Not a whole lot.
Okay, because some of the changes, I'm like, holy shit, this is like next level. Like if I was given like Civ 5 and like, what would you do to improve this or change up the mechanics? I'd be like, I don't even know. And they made a bunch that I'm actually really impressed with. One that I think is really cool that adds like another level of strategy is that, you have your science and your culture research tasks that you like.
Yeah.
All the output that your cities give goes towards researching whatever you're currently, is your main research head. Now you get bonuses to those, I don't know what they'd be called, the research topics. You get bonuses if you complete certain tasks. So if you get, say, 3 archers or something, then that ends up going to a future research thing. Or if you get a great writer, that'll feed into a later culture topic. So you're constantly trying to like think about that and like look at future stuff and be like, oh, okay, that says if I have a cavalryman and I attack a city, it's going to give me a bonus. So I can think about that for later in the game. And
so you constantly have things you have to back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. And you get little bonuses for playing the game well. Because a lot of them are not, none of them are none of them feel really arbitrary. It's not like, oh, have 10 zoos or something like that. It might be like, have 1 zoo, and it's like, oh, you get a bonus to that, and it cuts the time you'd take to research those things in half. Which is like
okay, that's cool. That's actually really cool.
So like what would take 10 turns to research takes 5. So like and some of those can be like game changing. So it really does incentivize really like thinking stuff out and being like, oh, I could get a bonus if I just expedite doing X thing right now. And if you have like a bunch of cities, then you can kind of spread out the work that way. So it's again like so many different cogs going on. And then there's the government aspect, which they've built on even further, where now you have policies as well as different types of government you can run.
Oh, no. you see, that would just be another notebook for me, and then I'd cry over it at 4 a.m.
Well, that was already kind of a thing in Civ 5.
Yeah. But in this one, like, the government aspect is now, like, you have your, like, starting government. I think it's an oligarchy, and you only get, like, I think it's 1 military policy and 1, I want to say it's city, something to that, or a production policy, but the 4 policies are basically military, production. I want to say it's green. It's got to do with like your city states. It's got to do with like diplomacy, and then the last one's like culture. But depending on the government you're running, you have more policies to enact in each side. So if you go to, I believe it's a monarchy, you get then 2 policies for military and 1 for production. And then in the later ones, it's like, oh, you have 6 grand total, but 3 of them are production, 2 of them are diplomatic, and 1 of them is culture. So there's no real incentive to put anything into your military one. And then as you're researching other things, then you get more policies, and then you end up kind of customizing your government to whatever your current play style is. So last one I was running, I'm like focusing heavy on faith. So I'm putting everything that bonuses me faith into that, and then I end up running a government that I can purchase units using faith.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's really good. And I'll also say as like a last little thing, because I don't want to get too into it, because honestly, there's so much to Civ that like you have to take into account for.
Yeah, no, like I'm sure there are like entire podcasts dedicated exclusively to talking about the systems of Civ. There's just so much there.
I will say it runs incredibly well on the Switch. I know I told this to you before, but it like mostly you just need to kind of know what buttons are doing what, because you're not using a mouse and keyboard anymore. So it's like, don't press X too hastily, because that's your like next turn button. It is like your go to the next unit that's usable or whatever. But if you've already run through all those and you press X, then it's like it doesn't give you a are you sure you're done with your turn? It just goes, oh, okay, you're done with your turn. It's like, because I've lost opportunities.
That's questionable.
So I've lost opportunities to like finish up a thing because I just was being like uncareful. And then I'm like holding X and I'm like, can I press B and then kind of maybe like switch things? And it's like, no, it ends up being like pretty locked in as soon as it thinks I pressed it. But I also find it really funny as well as smart of them to when you press the start button, it pulls up a menu that has your controller set up right there. Like 2/3 of the pause screen are just your controllers. So it's like, we know people are probably not going to 100% know what buttons are doing what, so we're going to have this here just as an immediate acknowledgement of that. So.
I'm surprised that they don't use the touchscreen more.
It does use there is certain things that you actually have to use the touchscreen. I haven't found a workaround for it. When you're using builders to tell them what to do, you actually have to press the button, which is weird because every other thing you can just use the directional pads.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, and then the minus button is your bring up information. So when you're like typically looking over things, it won't say anything, but if you press like minus, then it'll have like a drop down menu that'll kind of give you the information on everything. So yeah, but yeah, great Switch port. If anybody was hesitant about it or even just passively interested, I would say fucking go buy it. It's totally worth the time.
If you need to just completely destroy your life and not do anything else for the next 4 weeks, it's a great purchase.
If you want to sink 10 hours into a single game of Risk, this is for you.
Oh no.
If you want to have to not speak to another human being for literally as long as you want and or need to, it's a great purchase.
But anyway, Ryan, what have you been playing?
Recently I have been playing this game called Incredible Mandy.
Okay.
It's this kind of indie puzzle platformer sort of thing. Very, very stylistic, very, very artistically driven. It's definitely one of those, like artsy indie games, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at just one screenshot, you'll kind of know exactly what kind of game this is.
Yeah, I'm looking at screenshots in this. It looked. What was that game that was released last year that had the It wasn't Rise. It started with an R, but it had a very Shadow of the Colossus vibe to it.
Oh shit!
It started with an R. It's gonna fucking bother me now, but it looks a lot like that, where it's very very bright colors, like extremely bright, and it also seems to be on the seas. So there's a lot of blues.
Yeah, it's a very transparently Ico-inspired game.
My first thought was actually Wind Waker. Looking at it,
it does have a Wind
palette,
Waker,
but
yeah,
that's that dilapidated feel. Sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely there too. There's definitely a good bit of Zelda because, like I said, lots of puzzles there. Lots of As a matter of fact, I'd say in a lot of ways it reminds me of Breath of the Wild in kind of how it uses its toolbox to put you through a lot of different puzzle situations with the same tools, and it's fun. It's a nice, relaxing little play, I recommend it if it seems like you can basically tell exactly what it is the second you look at it, and if it feels like it appeals to you at all, I highly recommend it. It's not perfect by any means. It's clearly it's clearly made by an indie studio, and an indie studio from a country that doesn't speak English and didn't have all of the funds needed to localize it. The translation isn't necessarily bad, but you can tell it's been translated. You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah, just the certain language things just sound off.
Yeah,
some weird syntax here and there.
I would almost say that it debatably adds to the game in a certain way, because there's definitely... We haven't finished it, obviously, but it gives off the vibe of wanting to have an air of mystery as to, what the fuck happened to this place, or to your character, what the fuck was, all this stuff that happened in the past, war, etc., how did all these things get here, and why are they abandoned, and why are there, allusions to what seems like our present day, and in a way that kind of plays into it, but it is noticeable. It was made by Dotsuyo Games, and when I looked them up, it didn't really seem like they had a lot under their belt. This is potentially their first big thing under their belt. So I just found that pretty interesting because it's a really nice first big thing to have under your belt.
Yeah, like, at least I encourage everyone to give it a look. Like, if nothing else, just visually, it's fun to look at.
Well, the game I was thinking of is Rhyme from last year.
That's it, right,
shit.
yeah. That's exactly right.
It has
yeah,
a very
that's definitely...
Rhyme feel to it. Again, like you said, the Wind Waker aesthetic. It kind of has the Team Ico vibe to it, where you're kind of placed in this mythical area, and you're kind of expected to explore and figure out what happened, and it's not very dialogue heavy, is the sense I get from looking at it.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's definitely, I wouldn't say, like, it's definitely inspired by Ico, but I wouldn't necessarily completely compare it to that. Like, mainly because each level feels like, for want of a better term, a video game level. Whereas, like, one of the strongest parts of Team Ico, in my opinion, is kind of how everything feels like a lived-in world. Like, maybe one that's been long abandoned, but it feels like a place that could theoretically exist in some sense. And this game doesn't even really bother to try with that. But that also kind of frees it up to create, like, these kind of abstract, out there spaces, and I'm always kind of a sucker for that.
I love the puzzles.
Yeah.
It's really good puzzles.
And definitely good puzzles. Definitely good puzzles. Although, fair warning, don't go into this thinking it's going to have great combat. The combat is a serviceable mix-up at best. Like, it's fine. It's fine. But, it's not the reason you're going to want to play this game. But, yeah. I think that about covers it for that. Jade, what have you been playing?
Pokemon!
Of course.
Pokemon!
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I recently got my hands on Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I've been giddy about it. I know I've just fallen straight into the fly trap, but they got me. My family even got, like, the little Pokeball thing, which I do love to hold in my hand. And I've been playing it near non-stop these past few days. Pokemon Let's Go is pretty interesting because it doesn't feel like a classical Pokemon game. Well, it does, but it also doesn't. There's a lot of major mechanics that they've switched up a lot, and some of which I will defend really hard. One of which is...
This game's...
Oh, keep going.
Sorry to cut you off. This game is really interesting because it's so divisive.
I can kind of see why.
Because it does change a lot of the formula.
Yeah,
I can 100% see why,
totally,
too.
So, but yeah, I could kind of tell from the first time I caught a Pokemon in-game that this was going to make a lot of people mad. Now, for those of you who haven't played it, spoiler warning, there's two ways you can gain experience. You can either battle the very traditional Pokemon way that we all know and love, or you can go out and catch your Pokemon, which has been altered to be very reminiscent of the Pokemon app with Niantic, Pokemon Go. Fine!
What?
You're roasting me in my own tangent, you boob.
You could. Everyone knows what Pokemon Go is. You could have just said Pokemon Go.
I was yeah, you can use... It is slightly motion control based. Throwing the Pokemon ball, I actually like. There's 2 straps to it. You're not going to hurt anybody. It's actually very fun. Or you can
You're not going to fling the controller into the TV.
Yeah, or you can use control... But I know there's going to be a lot of people who aren't happy with it, because not everybody really likes motion controls the way I do.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's a thing now. And it's definitely different. They've changed a lot of things, including, like, I know you've been playing a little bit of this too, but
yeah. It's
Gosh.
it's a very weird game. Like, that's the thing I feel so conflicted about this game, because a lot of it I genuinely fucking adore, and a lot of it's just the same old thing. Like, it's a very weird, like, middle ground, and I think that's where a lot of the frustration is coming from people, where it's like, oh, we're going to revisit Kanto yet again, which I'll give people credit on this. It's like, yeah, of all the regions, Kanto is probably the most, like, bland nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
it isn't as interesting as the other regions of the Pokemon world. So it's like, okay, this is very clearly, you know, baiting the Gen 1 nostalgia people, which, you know, fair enough. That is the, like, largest percentage of people that have played Pokemon, because that's when it first came out, is when most people were into it, and I get that. But for something that's, like, so fleshed out, it is disappointing that it's like, yeah, you know, I've seen this before, and it ends up slightly dragging down a lot of the really interesting things the game's doing. Like, I actually think it was really clever changing how they did random encounters. I don't know why people are suddenly acting like random encounters were, like, the big mainstay of the series that had
They
to
weren't.
stay. It's
they
like,
were the
why?
worst part of the series, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like, really, another Zubat? But now you can just physically avoid the Zubats, and it's great.
Yeah.
And likewise, it's also just really fucking cool to, like, see the characters on the map, the Pokemon on the map, you know?
And you can have them
Yeah.
follow you. It's so cute.
Did you see that video on, like, Twitter where there were, like, the 70 Mr. Mimes just following behind?
Yes. it's a dream come true. I'm especially happy that you can have your Pokemon follow you now.
Well, and that's the other thing I'd say, is that it actually makes it feel, I had this argument with some people, is that it actually feels like your Pokemon are more than just, you know, a tool.
because you can
Whereas
see
before
them
it was
now.
like,
They're
oh,
present. They're
get out of
They're a present
your
force.
ball to be, yeah, exactly, they're a present force. And it's not like, hey, Bidoof slave, come out of your ball so you can cut down this tree, or so we can surf, or whatever. It's like, now all HMs are run through your partner, which for us was our Pikachus. So that's a separate issue. That's not even, like, a thing anymore. See, there's no HM slaves anymore. And
Yeah,
Pokemon come
I'm
out of their
not
balls
complaining
just to
about
either
that.
hang out with you
I am
or
going to miss...
possibly ride them.
I am going to miss
Like-
having an excuse to throw out a Bidoof to die. Like, memories.
Yeah.
I will say, if I have a slight complaint about the game, it's that the rival character, I think his name is Trainer, canonically.
Yeah.
They didn't even fucking try, did they?
But, like, anyway, I had this problem with SM as much as I love Hau, and I think he's adorable. Like, they don't really function well as, like, hostile rivals. And
No, this is not Blue.
I anticipated this boy to be a total jackass, so I named him Cuck. And, like, now I
I named
feel
mine-
really bad.
I had the same experience. I named mine Butthead because I was like, oh, since this is Yellow, this is a remake of Yellow, I'm gonna name him like I did when I was a kid. And I named Blue Butthead, but Blue is a separate character in this game. He's like, your Gary Oak equivalent is a separate kind of mentor
Yeah,
figure
he's just
in
like
this
this
game.
friendly guy who's just like, hey man, how's it going? We've been neighbors for years now, and now I just feel like a jackass, and I don't want to fight him, but he always wants to fight.
I actually love that the game actually kind of allows you to be the asshole in the situation, because some dialogue options are
know,
actually
they're
like
so mean.
kind of snide and shitty. Like you when you're given tickets to the SSN, like the boat in what's that city, Vermilion.
Yeah.
He comes up and talks to you. He's like, oh man, I really like to ride it, or something like that. And you have an extra ticket, and you can be like, here's an extra ticket, I guess. Like, here you go, whatever. Like, and I'm like, oh cool, now I get to be the asshole.
Which maybe that's the point.
It's what I always wanted.
yeah,
But yeah, and I think this kind of goes with something people have been kind of having an issue with Pokemon, and I think it's just two separate fan bases going against what I think Nintendo's kind of been going with. And I see where some of the frustrations are originating is Nintendo seems to be really trying to appeal to kids. Like, the friendly rival, from what I remember from interviews, was made like that because it's like, oh, we don't want to be too threatening for kids, and that's kind of a lame excuse because I love Silver and Silver and Gold because he was a fucking asshole. And I loved him before that.
I super do not get it, and that was going to be one of my complaints because like, you know, it feels like all of the recent rivals are like very, for want of a better term, like sugary. You know, they like, you know, when you have a rival, you want them to be your rival. You want to be like, oh, I'm gonna beat the shit out of them, like.
And like we all love Rock Lee and everything, but none of us have ever wanted to hit Rock Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just they need to keep mixing it up, and like this lean to the very sugary, nice side of things is kind of getting a little.
It's a bit
boring
much
for a lot of people, and it would be nice to get Pokemon with a little bit more edge, for lack of a better term.
Like, well, I wouldn't even say edge, just like just the slightest bit more grit, because like, you know, I get that like it can seem like, you know, it's best to put shit out there for kids that's like totally non-threatening and all of that, but at the same time that's so fucking shitty to kids. I feel like it's talking down to them so hard.
Yeah.
But, like, on the other hand, I do feel like this was kind of the refresher that Pokemon needed, because as much as I did love, like, Sun and Moon and all that stuff, I like it when Pokemon takes risks, because it was starting to reach a point, especially with, like, Black and White, all this stuff, where it's just like, okay, well, what do you have to offer now?
Well, I'd say Black and White took a lot of risks. It debatably took too many risks.
That's fair.
Like, I really like Black and White, but it was definitely really out there for a Pokemon game.
Aside from the Pokemon Go mechanics, I don't feel Let's Go really takes a crazy amount of risks, if I'm being...
Well, I would
straight
say...
up honest. It feels like a very safe bet. It felt like a very, like, this is going to make the money. I don't think it's going to, like, break the world, but this is going to make the money, like, 100% guaranteed. Especially since I don't think it cost a lot of money to make, because a lot of the models are a bit older. So I don't think they had to, you know, go crazy on the, we need to remake everything. It's like, we have the old maps of Pokemon Yellow and, you know... So I think this is a very safe risk for them.
Like, for me, I don't know if I necessarily say it's safe, because, I mean, we've seen how controversial it's been. The safest thing to do would have just been, like, here's another fucking Sun and Moon style thing. And, like...
Yeah, true.
For me, it feels more like them kind of, like, stepping back and trying to figure out what is actually needed in this franchise. Because, like, Pokemon has been going for so long. Like, there's just so much feature creep in each game that it's fucking absurd. These games are so dense if you're looking to do everything in them. And, like, I can't anymore. There's too much game in these games and not enough game for me to care about. You know what I mean?
Like,
it's an introspective game.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think we can see that in the fact that there's only one new Pokemon in this one. Like, there's just so much that I think they just really had to think about which audiences they're willing to alienate now in terms of, like, making new ground. I also still feel as if it did take a risk in terms of the fact that they made those entirely new movesets for Eevee and Pikachu, and I'm not sure if Let's Go is going to be part of the competitive scene, and I'm not even sure, I don't know enough about the competitive scene at large to know whether or not Pikachu and Eevee are now viable, but it was definitely a wrench that was thrown. It might not be the most effective wrench, I don't know how it works, but it was a wrench.
Well, Pikachu has always kind of been viable, like, if you wanted him to, because if you equipped him with, I think it was the Light Ball, something like that, there's an item out there that if you equipped it to Pikachu, it literally just straight up doubles his stats.
Now he has a new move exclusive to Pikachu because of Let's Go and all that, where one of his moves will always crit.
Yeah,
that's horseshit.
Zippy Zap.
It's It's horseshit, and I love
and
it.
it's got a decent attack too. I think it's 70 if I remember, which is like a pretty decent move, especially for the. It's got a very high percentage of attack, and Pikachu's always a fast Pokemon, so it's like once you get that, like Pikachu becomes like a god being for the rest of the game. Like there's no reason to remove him from your party, even though you can't evolve it. So I just took it as like, oh, that's a fun possible kind of reference to the Pikachu of the anime. I just took it as that. I'm like, Pikachu in the anime was busted, so I guess that's a fun parallel.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be, with Smash right around the corner, it feels like this might be the year of Pikachu, because I don't, not to like change subjects, but I don't know if you heard, but Pikachu is fucking shattered in Ultimate. So...
Really?
Oh yeah, no, he is debatably the best in the game. Like, I don't know if you know who Zero is, the number 1 Smash 4 player, but he's been saying that, with a lot of evidence to back him up, that Pikachu is like the best character available right now in Ultimate. But yeah, we'll find out in like a week.
Yeah. Jade, is that about it for?
Yeah, I think we're ready
Pokemon?
to move on.
Okay.
So
just because speaking of broken
Yeet.
segues, that brings us to. You guys have been keeping up with the whole thing with Fallout 76, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So Ryan, I think you're probably the most well-versed in everything going on. Do you want to give a quick synopsis of what's happened so far?
The super short version of this is Fallout 76, I think, might be my game of the year. Because I haven't even bought the game, and I have gotten so much joy out of it that it's fucking unreal. Because, like, so this is a story that just keeps happening, and every time I think it's over, something else comes along. But basically...
This will guaranteed be the shit show of the year for a lot of games journalists and, like, articles. Like, this is guaranteed. Like, Telltale was bad. This has been an ongoing disaster from, like, moment one.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, chances are, if you're listening to this, at this point, you know... 76 came out, and it was a complete fucking train wreck of a game. Reused assets from Fallout 4. The game barely functions half the time. It's poorly designed to fucking back. It's just a fucking terrible game, no matter how you cut it. It really seems like no one at all really seems to like this. I'm pretty sure... If you look on Metacritic right now, it has like a 2.8 user score. Like, it was not well received. First off, right after its release, on the day of, someone dropped 3 nukes and crashed the server, which, as far as I'm concerned, shows that the beta test really served no purpose other than to be a demo. They said they were using it to stress test the servers, and clearly that didn't work at all. And a couple days ago, it came out that the $200 Fallout 76 Collector's Edition... Okay, so that thing is advertised as having a canvas, like, survival bag, you know? The kind of shit you can throw your, like, cans of beans in when you run into the Fallout shelter. That's the general idea behind it. And you look at a picture of it, it looks really cool. It looks like a really sick, like, you know, canvas bag that, like, could be practical to use. People got their $200 collector's editions, and it was not made out of canvas, but it was made out of nylon. So it looks like this fucking terrible, like, garbage bag of a fucking product. And, of course, everyone is going, this is not what we were advertised. And fucking Bethesda basically said, we're sorry you feel that way, but we're also not going to do anything about it.
I hope you don't mind me interjecting here, but quite literally, someone had screenshot their email when they sent a complaint to Bethesda, and they were sent back, I'm not paraphrasing at all. Hello, we are sorry that you aren't happy with the bag. The bag shown in the media was a prototype that was too expensive to make. We aren't planning on doing anything about it. Bethesda Gear Store Support, North America.
It should have been signed "Get Fucked."
Actually, though, that's not even an exaggeration. But here's the thing: keeps fucking happening, because shortly thereafter, this started to pick up steam on Twitter and Reddit and all of the various, social media platforms. So Bethesda had to do something, and what they did was very decidedly something. What they said is that if you bought the $200 collector's edition and you feel unsatisfied with your purchase, they will give you 500 atoms, which is their in-game, in-store currency fun bucks, which equates to $5 in real life, as recompense for you getting screwed, basically.
And that's, I think someone pointed out that's not even worth, that doesn't even get you the bag in game.
Yeah,
that isn't
I
enough
haven't
atoms
confirmed
to get
that, but I heard the exact same thing, that there's an in-game model for that bag in the store, and 500 atoms isn't even enough to buy that. But it actually keeps getting worse. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is a story that will not stop happening. Because first off, there's accusations going around that literally the only reason they're doing it is to legally protect themselves, because basically the law is that if you falsely advertise something and then offer compensation for it, and that compensation is accepted, then you cannot sue them for false advertising. So there's people saying that the 500 in-game atoms is basically them trying to work around, being hit with a class action lawsuit, which I believe is currently happening now.
Yeah, I'm looking at an article right now. Law firm invites unhappy Fallout 76 PC players to report their experiences. So it sounds like a class action lawsuit is in the works. It's not sure if it could be possibly about the game as well as the false advertising in relation to the collector's edition. Because I think there's arguments for both, but it largely depends on, I think, where the law firm would want to direct it. Bethesda is also under investigations for inconsistent Fallout 76 refunds. So, again, like you said, this is literally the ongoing disaster of the year, where it's I don't think long-term this is going to ruin Bethesda. I think Bethesda is a bit too big for this to, destroy them entirely.
I think this is the death of their goodwill. I think this is the death of them,
100%.
Of people giving them the benefit of the doubt and respecting them. I think this will bring them into, the same light that we look at, EA with.
Yeah, people are no longer going to go, ha, it's a bug, not a feature. It's a feature, not a bug. Now people are going to tolerate this a lot less because of what this game, what that led to. Because this is, for all intents and purposes, this was a creation of that mindset.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people allowed Bethesda to be like that. They allowed them to eventually make this. Because when Fallout 76 came out, they even said, expect spectacular bugs, and everyone went, what the fuck?
And 3 more things.
Yeah.
1, someone dug into the anti-cheat engine for Fallout 76.
Yeah.
And apparently, the anti-cheat engine, all it does is search the game files for something called cheatengine.exe. That's it.
Yeah.
If your cheat engine doesn't have a file named that, you won't get hit. You won't get banned. You'll be fine. Also, number 2, someone deep dove the game files and found that they reused source code not only from Fallout 4, which I think everyone expected, but also from Skyrim. They reused nearly 10-year-old code. And to put kind of the cherry on top of where the story is at right now, because I'm done thinking it's going to be over. This is going to keep happening, I think, for a while. Every time I think it's done, it keeps happening. But a couple days ago, over on the 76 subreddit, that's where kind of the nylon bag story started to pick up steam. And Bethesda actually responded to it in the comments of the thread talking about it, and I'm just going to read this verbatim. You can go find this. They responded to people complaining about it being a nylon bag instead of canvas with, "Thanks for tagging us in this post. We're not sure if you've seen this make the rounds on various areas of the internet yet, but we've made an official statement about this issue included below. The Bethesda Store support member is a temporary contract employee and not directly employed by Bethesda or Bethesda Game Studios." Talking about the guy who responded to that first email. "We apologize to the customer who took the time to reach out. The support response was incorrect and not in accordance with our conduct policy. Unfortunately, due to an unavailability of materials, we had to switch to a nylon carrying case in the Fallout 76 Power Armor Edition. We hope this doesn't prevent anyone from enjoying what we feel is one of our best collector's editions. Thanks again for letting us know." That post currently has negative 22,000 downvotes.
Yeah, I'd expect that.
What I don't understand is that this is the professional equivalent of being like, "It's not my fault, Mom, it's the dogs."
But
from a PR perspective, I get that. It makes sense.
The worst possible PR cover-up I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, 100%. Like, again, this has been like an ongoing train disaster, and no PR statement would ever fix it. Like, I feel bad for anyone currently hired as PR for
Well, I think
Fallout,
what makes this one so
76.
special is that they go out of their way to throw another employee under the bus.
Yeah.
And also, one last thing that kind of makes that post, like, just that extra bit sweet is that post was originally made before they announced that they'd be reimbursing people with the 500 in-game atoms. So, like, a day later, they came back and edited it and said, "We are working with our CS team to provide 500 atoms to the Power Armor Edition purchases." So, like, it's... they had to backtrack with their own comment. Like, legitimately, I'm not even exaggerating. Fallout 76 is one of my favorite games of the year at this point because I've gotten so much enjoyment out of it. And I haven't had to pay a goddamn cent.
Well, and then there's the final little detail that is like another little cherry on top of the cherry is the article that recently came out. I think it was today. That was Fallout 76 canvas bags given free to Fallout influencers.
Oh right, I forgot about that.
And this looking at pictures of this bag, it looks like
it's
what was
good
promised.
Bag.
It looks like more of a backpack than like a bag, but it still looks like the same like material as what was shown in the like Armor Edition advertisement.
It looks like something that no one would be upset to receive.
Yeah, if this was like the shape it came in, I think people would be like, "Oh, this looks a little bit different," but you know, whatever.
It's still a good
functions
product.
As a canvas bag.
Like, no one could reasonably say it was false advertising as much as just something different. It would meet, you know, what was promised. But, like...
Yeah.
So, apparently they did have the materials. They just decided not to. Like, that's all I can discern from
That's
this.
so much worse. I did not know about it. That is so much worse.
But this went to people like, I think Yang Yi got a bag and he didn't even know why, and a few other, like, larger YouTubers. I think people that typically talk about Bethesda games got it.
We'll make 5 good ones, and that'll get the heat off us. Like, that's so fucked up.
And this is one of those cases where it's like the fact that they did this, and supposedly this might have happened before the nylon bag thing, but it's like, wow, that made this even worse.
Yeah, like, that doesn't change anything. That just means that, like, they had the resources and decided to allocate it to shit that would supposedly get them more sales rather than to fulfill the sales they've already made.
100%. Here's the thing. If Fallout 76 was just the weird cash grab that everyone thought it would be and just left it, it would have been fine. But it's the thing where the more Bethesda has been trying to cover it up and trying to, like, cover bad press and get more good coverage of it, the worse it's become. If they just, like, accepted their loss and just, like, wiped their hands of it at the end of it, it would just been like, whatever, it's a shitty game, fuck Bethesda, whatever. But the more that's come out of this, the more it's been just damaging their reputation.
Yeah, like, but that would require a major company to hold an L, you know? It would require them
That's
to admit
true.
that they did something wrong, which is not going to fucking happen.
Yeah, this is just the most like absurd event for this company, and I don't know, like I said earlier, I don't think this is gonna like bring Bethesda down,
Yeah.
but I think they're gonna have to take a knee after this. Like, this is gonna be a bit of a blow for them.
This is a very
I don't know
large
financially.
slice
I don't know
of humble
financially. Yeah, I don't know financially, but definitely like as a company, yeah, like you said, like a bit of humble pie for them. So, but that's about it.
Like, yeah, I like, and this is again, this is without even necessarily talking about the quality of Fallout 76, because like these are just the controversies around it, but the game itself, like I said, I've yet to see basically anyone, even the most devoted Fallout fans I know, the ones who like would go hard to bat for like Fallout 4, which, you know, that game might not be for everyone, but it is for someone, you know? 76 seems like a game for no one.
Yeah, it's very, like I said, it seems like just a very cash grabby thing. Yeah, even looking into some of the like Bethesda fans that I know, even they're really pissed off about the game. It's just this like really
and it's also worth
lame
noting,
attempt at making a cash out.
Yeah, but it's also worth noting that Bethesda has confirmed that what's the name of the next game they're doing? Starfield?
Yeah, Starfield and not Skyrim. I almost said Skyrim. Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah,
Elder Scrolls 6.
Both of those games are going to be made in the Fallout 76 engine, which I really hope they reconsider, because 76 looks like shit.
To be fair, it wasn't an engine made for 76. It's just the engine they've been using since Skyrim. Which doesn't make it better. It's just like, this is just an engine that they've been using, and it's clearly not really working out for them. I don't know how much of this is lazy development. I had a discussion the other day with people where it's like, I'm always kind of very hesitant about blaming what's an engine problem and what's like a programming problem. But the more I look into this, the more I agree that this is an engine problem.
Okay, but counterpoint, Fallout 76 is using code from Fallout 4 and Skyrim.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it was pure laziness, but I feel confident saying that laziness wasn't not a factor.
Oh yeah, 100%. But anyways, so that was one collector's edition issue. Now we're going to talk about a different collector's edition that I think we're going to have a little bit of a different take on, which might end up kind of retroactively discrediting us. And that's the recent DMC5 collector's edition was shown off the other day.
Oh yeah.
Have either of you really looked into what's in the collector's edition?
What is it other than a car?
So I'll pull it up, but it's basically you get the game as would be expected. You get the car, which is Nico's van that you've seen in trailers if you've been following DMC5 like we have.
Yeah, like if you've watched one trailer, you know what it is.
So I think that's like a steelbook. An art book and notes from Nico's
cute.
workbench. Premium pin, an I Love Osaka bumper sticker, which I assume shows up on the van. I'm gonna assume that shows up. We just haven't really seen it. And there's
I kind of love that, honestly.
And there's an 11 by
so
17-inch exclusive cloth print, which you might seen the picture of. It's a lineup of the cast in front of the van with like the headlights shining on their back. That looks great.
It looks pretty sick. Yeah, that like I would like. I don't know if I want that as a cloth print, but I would.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Like buy the shit out
so it's
of that as a poster.
$150.
How much
I believe
is
that's
this again?
American.
I want.
Oh, okay, so
120 American.
Honestly, for the steel case, the art book, and the game, I think that's fine. I mean, books take a lot to print, especially ones with that, you know. I'm just a sucker for art books, and I will drop a pretty penny for all of them.
No,
but
it's 150. It's 150 American.
Yeah, like I feel like
I'm looking on Amazon.com, which you can order from, and it's saying
looking at
150. Just to make sure we got specifics. Okay. Because I think that'd be 170 for me, so 175.
I'm going to double check that on.
Yeah. While you look it up,
give me 1 second.
I'm not 100% sold on this personally. For me, actually, the selling point wouldn't be the van. It's cute, but it looks like just like a slightly discount Hot Wheel. Like, I don't know, it doesn't look like it's crazy
the Hot Wheels
well designed, so I'm kind of iffy on it from just looking at pictures of it. Pictures might not do it justice, which is fair.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that this is like the best like $100 plus collector's edition I've ever seen, because that's probably Dark Souls 3. I think is probably the best like $100 plus collector's edition I've seen.
You mean with the one with the really bad Estus flask?
No, that was Dark Souls 2, I want to say, or no, I can't remember. But either way, I know it's not that. I don't know which one had the Estus flask, but I have the Dark Souls 3 collector's edition, and it came with a really cool steelbook, and it came with like a really nice like figure of like the what's the name of the protagonist in fucking
Ashen One?
Dark Souls 3. Yeah, Ashen One. Of the Ashen One, dual wielding swords, like while like standing on the top of rock. It's really cool.
Oh yeah, it's right here in your room.
I regret not getting that collector's edition. But to finish my statement, I was going to say the thing that I would actually sell me on the collector's edition, and I would have to see what it looks like, is the art book. Yeah. Because I love me some art books. I'm always on the look for art books, and usually when I talk about a game in video, I like to find an art book if I can, because there's always interesting notes hidden within art books that kind of give you a little bit of extra insight into it. So if this is like a manual with like a few pieces of concept art and that's about it, But if it's like a decent sized one, then yeah, I'd be totally fine with getting it. Like, I already really dig the cloth print, so...
Yeah, I'm probably going to wait until I see like someone review the special edition, because like I'm not sold on it, if you know what I mean, but I'm not there yet either.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the edge right now. I'm kind of I don't know. It's just I've seen a lot more bad collector's editions than good collector's editions, so I'm always wary of jumping into them.
I will say though, a bit of hesitance on my part, and this isn't just like the big collector's edition, but also like the deluxe edition is, and we've talked about this before, I think, but the fact that there's like certain mechanical things locked behind like the paywall of the collector's edition.
Well, the deluxe edition to...
Oh, yeah, the deluxe edition, which is only $10 more, but still, you know?
I'm not really bothered by that, but I understand where a lot of that comes from, because the deluxe edition also has a bunch of other stuff, which it's like, it's got a lot of voice packs, music to it, so it's like, I get why it's worth the cost, but I do understand why people are really frustrated that, like, if they don't get the collector's edition, then it's like, oh, too bad you don't get the pasta breaker mechanic, which lets you swap between devil breakers on the fly, which I don't think... I have zero doubt, or I have zero belief that Itsuno designed the game to push you towards getting that mechanic. I don't have that much of a cynical edge to myself that I would think that of Itsuno and Matt Walker in them, but I understand why people might find that frustrating.
Like, for me, like, I'm someone who tends to be a bit more forgiving, a bit more accepting of, like, special editions with in-game content, but where I always draw the line is when you hide, like, actual game mechanics behind that kind of shit. Like, the fact that there's like different battle tracks for the deluxe edition, there's different skins, you know, all of that stuff, fine, cool, whatever, I accept that, fair. But like hiding like actual weapons, no matter how minor they might be, like that to me feels a little off, you know. I don't fully stomach that, just because like it's easy to say that, you know, oh, this is like basically just a novelty weapon, but you and I have both seen what people have done in these games with things that are supposed to be novelties.
Yeah, that is 100% true. Because if these were just different skins, because I know another one is Cavalier R is also locked to the deluxe edition. Which, if it was just a different skin, fine. I could totally be fine with that. Whatever, it's a different color. But it has a mid-air. I don't want to say it has a stinger, but it has a very specific move to it that it can only be done with Cavalier R, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm not gonna demonize them, but I understand where people's really genuine frustrations come from.
Yeah, and I think like it may even I don't know if this is necessarily true. I'm just judging this based on what the website says about it. But it says, and I quote, "Its instantaneous output has been increased," which to me means it has better frame data, right? Like, that's the only way I can really read that, is that it has, like, a faster startup animation.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's a very weird wording to it.
Yeah, like, that's a weird wording, but if that is the case, then that I find very dicey, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
And I'd be much more annoyed with this if it was like an actual multiplayer game. Like if this was Call of Duty or Overwatch, I'd be much more like, okay, fuck this entire thing, because you're actually giving people a competitive edge, which there is like speedrunning tech and sure, whatever, but for the most part, this is like a single player thing. And as long as you can enjoy it as a single player thing, then this does end up becoming just a minor grievance and hopefully what will be an amazing game. I don't think this is going to end up making me think like that much less of it, but it's just a trend I don't like seeing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's clearly not a deal breaker for like either of us, much less me. But like it's just one of those. It's a bitter pill. That's basically what it comes down to. And I'm going to swallow that bitter pill, but it's still like, you know, just, dude, what the fuck?
Jade, any thoughts on the matter?
I mean, I think you guys kind of covered all the ground on it. I've been spending the last 10 minutes staring at a picture of Lady on my phone because I'm gay. But otherwise,
the DMC, the deluxe edition. The deluxe edition has the better colors.
Yeah, the costumes, the alt costumes look so fucking good.
Yeah.
Lesbian.
Stop.
Speaking of bitter pills / excitement, did you guys hear about the new DMC anime that's in the works?
Oh yeah, no, I have. Given who's behind it, I have complete faith in that. Honestly.
Okay. So
for those of you who
listening,
might not know, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for those who might not know, the creator of the recent Castlevania series on Netflix recently got the rights to do a Devil May Cry anime for Netflix as well. And there is a really great interview that he did with IGN where he said, where it says, while Shankar, his name's Adi Shankar, while Shankar didn't give us any specifics in terms of what this all means for the series' overall story, he did inform us that he, quote-unquote, acquired these rights myself so that the jabronis in Hollywood don't fuck this one up too.
Jabronis?
I'm picturing him.
What a fucking hero.
I am literally picturing him. Like, I know what he actually looks like, but I'm picturing Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia saying that. That's the image in my head.
Ryan, you're going to be the one editing the video. I'm going to send you a clip to show you what he looked like in the interview.
Since we have you in here, I was like, actually, Corrado, my boss, was like, I should just tell you that, you know, since I'm a fan of the show, if you're ever considering maybe adding a villain in, that I've made some plans that, you know, I just, like, sketched this up really quickly, you know, it's between our... It's upside down. Oh, my God, okay.
Why? You know what? Power move. That's some big dick energy.
Watches Hunter x Hunter once.
Shut the fuck up. God, we're gonna have to put that in post, right? So everyone can see
Oh,
the
yeah,
shit.
100%. And,
Look
like, from...
at that.
Shit.
What a hero.
And in this interview, he, like, just abruptly ends the interview, just like, this interview's over, and just leaves.
That's the biggest dick energy.
Yeah,
I've
I was
seen
gonna
in a
say
long
that's a
time.
big dick move.
Like this guy's a character, and he also really wants to get the rights for the Berserk anime.
Oh God, please.
Like he hates
Like-
the current Berserk anime, and he really wants
As
like
he
the rights to
should.
do it himself.
And you know what? He's been doing a great job with Castlevania. That's
Yeah.
some good shit.
Well,
if
here's
if
my-
he didn't have that pedigree behind his name, because like, have either of you seen Castlevania?
yes,
Castlevania?
it's good.
I still
really
need to.
good.
I still need to finish it.
Okay.
It's hot goth boys central, and I am all here for that shit.
My only concern though is like, or maybe not necessarily a concern, but my first question is he going to bring Warren Ellis to work with him on this? Because he's the one who wrote the Castlevania series, and if you don't know Warren Ellis, go pick up some of his comics. He is one of my
Yes.
favorite writers ever. He wrote my favorite comic ever, Transmetropolitan. Absolutely fucking phenomenal. And he's also the one who wrote the Castlevania anime. And if I find out that he's writing the Devil May Cry anime, I may actually just fucking explode.
Yeah, like when I saw he was writing Castlevania, I was like, that's great. And the one thing I'll also give Castlevania, which if it carries over to Devil May Cry, I'll be exceptionally really excited, is that it does show a genuine care for the lore of the games. It does make certain changes because it has to kind of adapt to make it work, but it does keep in mind a lot of the canon. I'm not a big Castlevania fan, so I don't know a lot of it, but looking into the storyline of Castlevania Season 1 and 2, it not only incorporates stuff from Castlevania 3, in the fact that like Alucard, Sypha, and Trevor are the main characters, it also includes Hector and Isaac, who are the protagonist and antagonist of Curse of Darkness, and Season 2 acts as a prequel to that game, as effectively.
That's pretty dope.
Because those characters in Curse of Darkness, as far as I remember, Isaac wants to get revenge on Hector because he betrayed Dracula and caused the events of Castlevania 3, and Hector wants to get revenge on Isaac, or at least doesn't like Isaac because he killed a woman he loved, if I'm remembering correctly, which I don't think is going to be Carmilla as far as what the anime has been doing, but I think that's where the next season's probably going to end up going towards. But it's like, this actually does take into consideration the lore of the series. And
yeah,
that's
like
really great.
He is Shankar clearly cares about like the source material.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
he
that's
clearly
what-
has a respect for it.
That's not like what I feel is going to make this a hit, even though it is great that he cares. What I liked about it was that watching through Castlevania, my favorite thing about it is that it's funny. It's
Oh,
fun
that too.
to watch. There's constant banter between the characters. Maybe we could edit some in. I'll send my favorite scenes or whatever. But
That's
like,
Warren
there is-
Ellis.
Eat shit and die.
That's Warren Ellis. That's
there's,
his.
like,
That's a
consistent-
very Warren Ellis line.
Yeah,
That's very
there's-
Warren Ellis dialogue.
Yeah, there's very consistent banter that's absolutely hilarious, which means that if Warren Ellis is behind the writing for the Devil May Cry series as well, like, we're not gonna lose any of that fun, any of that camp. And oh my god, Warren Ellis writing Dante quips is already giving me a boner.
Shankar, please bring Ellis with you.
Go,
Please,
go,
I am
go,
fucking begging you. I need this. Like, this is literally, like, the kind of shit that I thought up as, like, like a crack dream project in high school, in the same way you think of, like, a Stanley Kubrick Evangelion movie. Like, shit that you think will never happen, but here we are, and it's, like,
I can
very in the
taste it.
cards.
I can taste
Very in
it.
the cards.
Though the monkey's paw part of this wish is that he's not adapting the original Devil May Cry, he's adapting the reboot. If you've seen the pictures where Eddie Shankar is actually dressed as Dante, it's this weird mishmash of the series where where he has the 5 logo in the background, but he's wearing the red coat, like Dante's regular red coat, but he's wearing the DMC amulet on his neck. So it's like, this is just my Dante. This is my version of Dante.
you know what? Fuck it.
I mean,
Yeah.
fair. Like, honestly, like, because like both you and I have kind of like said that the DMC reboot had potential there.
Yeah.
So if he's looking to like bring some stuff in from that kind of scene, like, you know, there are worse ideas.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be the worst things, though I imagine if that ended up coming in a news article just, like, out of context, people would be very pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
Just because people are still very on edge about the whole DMC reboot, which, fair enough, you know, fine. But I also wanted to slip this in, because I find it very interesting, is from interviews and just the way Eddie Shankar kind of talks in interviews and the things he says, his energy isn't far off from Tamim Antoniades.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I kind of always got the same thing.
It's a level to the side.
Yeah. Well, basically what I think it comes down to more than anything is I kind of feel like they both have the same kind of aura.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that
what
same
I'm
kind of like,
yeah.
I know better than you, but the difference is that Adi can back it up.
Yeah, exactly. He can back it up. Plus, he also has really good. Not that I don't want to throw Ninja Theory under the bus because they do have good staff, but you know, Eddie Shankar has fucking Warren Ellis on his side, along with amazing animators. That's the one thing I also wanted to mention about Castlevania is, holy shit, was that well animated?
Yeah.
People give weird credit to the DMC anime, like the first one. But that one's not that well animated. It's really boring to watch.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I really don't like about it, is it's like, it's really well done on model when it needs to be, when it's like still frame. But when it's in motion, it's really not that interesting.
Yeah. It's lifeless, I think it's kind of the best way to put it.
And as an interesting
Which is
comparison
kind of the last thing that like any Devil May Cry thing should be.
Yeah. And as a last interesting, weird parallel, the DMC anime, the first one, was also done by the guy who made the recent Berserk adaptation.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now I'm angry.
Yeah, so it almost seems like Shankar's looking at that guy and being like, I'm going to do all the things you did badly better.
Yeah! This guy, like, dang, just amazing dick energy.
Yeah.
Go you, Shankar. Go you.
But yeah, any final thoughts on that? Are we excited? I think we can all say we're at least
at this rate. I think everybody could see our boners from a mile
Yeah.
away. So
Like,
we should move on.
I'm going to wait until like some footage comes out about it,
Yeah.
and like until we find out who the writer is, because like I'm always gun shy about any project like this, even if it is someone as talented as him behind it. But like, you know, like fucking. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Pessimistically, what's the term? Like,
hesitant optimism. Let's go with that.
yeah. Like, I'm like optimistic. This all seems to be good, but we're gonna have to see what
Toes in the
comes
water,
of it.
but you got your swimsuit on.
Yeah, I'm
You
fully
have
ready
my
to jump
attention.
in. Just like give me the go ahead. But anyway, so moving on to, I guess what will be like the main theme of this episode for the rest of it is the Game Awards is coming up next week. Next
Game Awards!
Thursday. The VGAs
The most
of
pointless thing in
2018,
gaming.
sponsored by Doritos and Mountain Dew. So to start this off, how do you guys feel about the VGAs over the last years? Let's maybe start there.
Like, they're not the award like ceremony that we really deserve, for want of a better term, honestly. I feel like they get too much of a bad rap from a lot of people, but it definitely deserves a bit of flack thrown its way, because it is ultimately quite literally a popularity contest.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how good something is. What matters is that more people played it.
Yeah. Well, because like the optimistic hope is that like the best game will get the most votes, but I think anybody looking at this realistically knows that's not what's going to happen, because even on their website they have a little thing that says, vote boosting. After you vote, share your vote to give it even more weight in our formula. Meaning like, oh, share what you voted
Jesus
on
Christ.
social media. And if you like say have who's a big gaming personality, Jim
Kojima?
Sterling or someone like that, if you have one of them going on their Twitter and going, I voted for Monster Hunter World as the best game of the year. That's going to give it a lot of votes because people are going to be like, I like Jim Sterling, I'll vote for that too. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they played it, they're just going to go, oh yeah, I'll vote for that.
Yeah, like, it's definitely got its issues and kind of how it's formatted, but at the same time, like, I think there's a place for it in a lot of ways. I just wish, because, like, the other side of this that I would say is, what was it? What's the flip side of this, I'd say, is, like, the Independent Game Developers Awards, I think is the name of it. Yeah. That is kind of closer to, for want of a better term, the Oscars of gaming. God, that feels so fucking gross to say. But, like, that's it, you know? It's more people taking in, like, the actual artistry of a game much more so than just, like, how many units got sold.
Yeah, this is clearly meant to be, like, the big industry FAP session it's designed to be. Like, this isn't so much about the gaming as a medium, it's more about just an industry, let's get excited sort of deal.
Yeah. And you know what? I think there's a place for that. You know, I think there's a place for, like, you know, for want of a better term, pop art getting its time in the spotlight, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's something film could have stood to get quite a while ago, is, like, kind of like a side award ceremony that's more, like, you know, popularity driven. So I do think there's a place for the Game Awards, but it does kind of bug me that it's sort of like the big one. It's the one that people actually, like, pay attention to more than anything else.
Well, I think it's also partially because it's become a pseudo E3 as well, because we also expect there to be big premieres. Like, last year we had Death Stranding, Bayonetta 3. If there's no Bayonetta 3 footage at this one, I'm gonna be fucking pissed off. by the by,
fucking riot.
And there's probably gonna be stuff that we don't even know. That's something we can even talk about, is like what we even expect to be shown, because we know there's gonna be people are racing to get their stuff shown at this because they know eyes are gonna be on it.
Yeah, I think we're probably also going to get the trailer for V in DMC5.
Yeah, we're gonna get the V. Yeah, we're getting the V trailer for sure. I think they explicitly stated they will. But I will say that, like, I do respect it as to a certain degree, because this came a long ways since the VGXs in 2014.
Oh,
which
God,
was a laughing stock. That was legit a laughing stock.
It was legitimately embarrassing to watch.
Like,
I felt so bad for Joel McHale. Holy shit.
Yeah, and then Joel McHale, who's, like, making a joke of it, and everybody's like, you can tell Keeley was so fucking frustrated then. And now we've come to this point where it's this big.
There are parts of it I just actively could not watch.
Like, I mean, like, to be fair to Joel McHale, like, I can't say I wouldn't have made a joke out of it that year, because it kind of was a joke that year.
Yeah.
It was so bare bones. It had any lack of, like, fire or fun to it. It was so jankily, like, organized. It felt like, it legit felt like they threw it together 2 days beforehand.
Oh, yeah. And then you have, again, like, Joel McHale, who was, like, grilling, I think it was the Broken Age devs, Double Fine? That he was grilling them about how much they paid Elijah Wood for voice acting and stuff, and you can tell everyone on stage is getting really awkward because that's not something you talk about in this forum. And he just doesn't care. I'm pretty sure he had a few drinks, so he was kind of just like, I'll say whatever the fuck, I don't care, like, because he's not a game person, so this was just like a gig. So he just was like, fucking, I don't care. And now it's like, I want to say a fairly credible. I'm not going to say it's the most credible, but it's definitely an entertaining thing that has production. It has a very high production value that makes it an enjoyable thing to watch. Yeah,
if nothing else, I can always say, like, I like I said, I have my issues with the Game Awards, but I'm not bored watching it. You know, it's a fun watch. Like, and I look forward to it every year.
I give credit to. I doubt it was Keeley who did it. It must have been some editor, but I saw the recent, like, advertisement for it of, like, oh, get excited for the Game Awards, and they're showing clips from the past, like, years or so. The last, like, 2, I think, since it's been the VGAs. and they literally showed the whole "fuck the Oscars" thing from the last. Like that's literally how it like ends. Is like "fuck the Oscars," and I'm like, at least they're leaning into it now, despite the moment last year where you could tell Keeley was so uncomfortable. That was probably my favorite thing watching last year, was just seeing the guy who made Way Out make Keeley feel the most uncomfortable.
I mean, that's always kind of the like I don't want to say it's the best part of the Game Awards, but that's always like one of the most fun parts. Is every year without fail, at least one person says something just monumentally fucking stupid.
Either monumentally stupid or really cringy, because it's either that or was it the year before that they had the Gillette robot.
Oh yeah, the Schick Hydronator.
Yeah. He's like just walking around. It's like,
wait, you said robot. I need to look it up.
No, don't stop. That thing. Yeah, this is the thing that was the inspiration for the.
Like the last years, like Kroby Cat's gotten some great footage for his videos. If you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he makes the
he
compilation
does great
videos
shit.
that like there's no spoken words from the creator. He just makes these like videos that give you like this sense of like the experience of what these things were, and it's usually just like the cringiest stuff.
Yeah, he is an amazing editor.
Why is this Razor a Chad?
Gonna fucking jump off a bridge. Anyway, should we talk about like
we should probably actually talk about the awards.
Yeah. So 2018 for Game of the Year we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Celeste, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ah, yes, Horse Nut Simulator.
So, to start off, what do you guys think will be the winner for this one? We won't do this for everything because this will that'll take fucking forever. But at least for Game of the Year, what do you guys think is the likely winner?
I think Celeste should win. I think either Celeste or Monster Hunter should win. But it's going to either be Spider-Man or Red Dead.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
I personally think that Spider-Man is going to win because not only was it huge and well received, but like the Spider-Man game didn't have any there's not a lot of controversy wrapped up around that way Rockstar has sort of pseudo recently it's Spider-Man.
Well,
it's superhero, like, and our generation has been on a Marvel kick.
Like, I think Spider-Man definitely has a chance, but at the same time, like, that's also implying that most people give a shit about the controversy around Red Dead. Like,
at the end of the day,
they absolutely should.
Yeah.
But not most people do, if we're being honest.
Yeah, but there's, like, at the same time, it's bad publicity, and Spider-Man doesn't have any.
But keep in mind
at the same time, like, if you're a 14-year-old casting your vote in this, you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know?
And also keep in mind that Red Dead Redemption 2 got more than 17 million copies sold in 2 weeks. Sorry, that's shipped. That's shipped, but still, that's a lot.
It feels like that's a lot, but it feels like people haven't really been talking about it. Like, none of my friends have been playing it at all, but like...
Yeah, it does kind of feel like it dropped off after release in a lot of ways. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen murmurings about it, but I remember when Spider-Man came out, that was literally all anyone was fucking talking about for weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Spider-Man probably has the best chance, but I think, and I said this to you guys before, I think Red Dead has the better opportunity to win because it came out so close to the nominees coming out. So I think everybody coming off of their high of playing Red Dead 2 are going to go, yeah, I'll vote for that. Like, I don't know, that's my like cynicalness speaking, but I think that's somewhat of a reasonable thing to think.
Here's the other thing that I kind of also have to ask is, like, how many people actually finished Red Dead 2?
Oh, no, not a lot. But also, how many people have to finish these games to vote? It's the
fair.
it's the YouTube problem. How many people actually finish a video before they start liking or disliking or commenting? Not a lot.
And we've both seen the analytics.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
Yeah, not that you have to, like, that's like a requirement. I don't think that's a dead on, because yeah, longer games and to that extent longer videos would kind of get fucked by that metric, but it's something worth considering.
Yeah.
You know, these votes aren't coming from people that have played the entire thing. These are coming from people that, like, played a bit and were like, I had fun with that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Not necessarily finished it, but I don't know. It's not a perfect system. It's, as we talked about.
But my current theory is that Red Dead will win, unless the Avengers 4 trailer gets dropped before the award ceremony, in which case the internet will just flock to Spider-Man. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but if it does happen, I am going to declare myself a soothsayer, and everyone owes me $5.
I will. Well, now I want it to not happen, despite the fact that I'm not pro horse nuts, because I don't want you to be right.
What's wrong with horse nuts?
They're horse nuts, Ryan.
Please explain.
They
In great exhaustive detail.
Would you want to touch them or see them? Are you interested in the fact that they drop in certain weather conditions?
It's fascinating.
Oh my god. Okay,
I do want to say I really wish or hope that we can see the voting numbers on categories. That would be really interesting to me, at least. I think to people that really get into this.
I feel like it just make me sad.
Yeah, it would be really sad to see Assassin's Creed Odyssey get more votes than Celeste.
Yeah, it's like Celeste is the indie. Like we'll give this one its due. I think that's like a. What do you call it?
It's them being like, see, we're not just about giant AAA games. We care about people who make small games. Now, anyways, ignore that shit. Vote for Red Dead.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of ends up coming into the topic of why I kind of want to talk about the Game Awards is I think it's a very interesting list because it says a lot about how somewhat dry this year was. Maybe in terms of just big games, but maybe just in terms of how little diversity and like big game-changing games there were, at least from like my perspective. I'm speaking very cynically in this way. Because Red Dead Redemption 2, Marvel Spider-Man, and God of War are pretty much in every feasible category they can be in, which is a lot. Because
it feels like this was a year without like a hard 10. You know, the closest is probably Celeste, but like this isn't like the year that like fucking Nier Automata dropped or anything like that.
You mean last
or the
year
where Persona 5. Yeah, fucking. Dude, all of these years feel so long at this point.
Yeah, 2018 feels like weirdly long. But yeah, it's not 2017 where we had like Cuphead, Persona 5, Nier Automata, Horizon Zero Dawn, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. Like the list goes on for 2017.
Yeah, it was fucking ridiculous.
This year doesn't feel like it has that. Like I think we talked about this the other day. Is like. In Best Direction, as much as you can argue for it, fucking Detroit Become Human is on the list.
Bad.
Who the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, I don't got anything to add to that. I'm actually genuinely upset about
like,
that.
And I said it, it's like, I can see the arguments, because, like, David Cage, as bad of a game maker as he can be, especially when it comes to writing his games, because honestly, that's where a lot of his games break down, is the writing the script and whatnot. In terms of a directing standpoint, they actually are usually well done in terms of like setting up scenes, shot composition, you know, what it's trying to make the player feel at a moment. Like usually that's fairly well done. It's just usually the script is bad.
Yeah, beautifully well-shot, picturesque scenes, just amazing color balance, press X for racism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'll definitely agree with that. I think he's kind of underrated as a director because like he has a really good sense of like framing and general scene pacing and all of that kind of shit. And he also knows very well how to capture like a specific atmosphere or tone. It's just that he's also it's just that he also so happens to be one of the worst writers in the entire fucking industry.
Yeah. Like, imagine him directing, let's say, because it's just literally sitting right behind it, like God of War. Like, have everyone else be doing the same thing, but he comes in as, like, to direct, like, scenes. Not even as a director, but maybe just, like, a scene director or, like, a supervisor for cinematography. Like, I think he'd be great for stuff like that.
I think there's a place for him in the industry. It's, like, the big problem is that he keeps insisting, though, on trying to be this, like, auteur, and he sucks at it. He fucking sucks at it.
Well, I think it's been said before, and it's something I agree with. Him and Kojima are kind of like two of the same coin, like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah,
like because they're both doing a lot of the same behavior. Well,
exactly.
Kojima has like a pedigree.
Kind of like like Kojima is like this is basically it. Kojima has he's not as good of a director, I'd say, in terms of like his scene composition as Cage. Like, I mean, fucking the scenes in 4 just drag at so many points, and like he tries to come up with some creative solutions to like, you know, make it engaging to watch, but like we've all played Metal Gear Solid 4, I think, and like that game has some real fucking pacing issues, but like when you get down to it, the actual writing in all of his games is at worst interesting. You know, it's at worst, you know, memorable and engaging. Well, and at its best, it's some of the highest peaks the entire medium has to offer.
Oh, anybody who doesn't think the boss sequence, the boss fight in Metal Gear Solid 3 with the boss is one of the best sequences in all of games, like, you either clearly weren't paying attention or you just never played this game. Because that is, like, a peak for games.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where, like, you know, I try to be respectful of all opinions, but that's one of the things where it's like, if you don't think that scene is amazing, you are actually wrong. You are actually incorrect with your opinion.
And as a side, since we went on such a weird tangent, and speaking of directors, you guys know who did A Way Out, who's also the other game on the best game directed games, right?
Yeah, a game that I have not heard of.
Yeah. This one slipped me by too.
Yeah, it came out very stealthily.
Yeah, there was like nothing on it.
So those of you who don't know, but watched last year's Game Awards, A Way Out was directed by the Fuck the Oscars guy. I can't even remember his name because that's just what I know him as.
So I think his name was National Hero.
Oh, yeah. That's right. A Way Out's really interesting, and I totally get why it's up for Best Directed among these games, because it is very well directed. It's a very interesting... I guess the best comparison you can make for it is Shawshank Redemption, because a good portion of it is a jailbreak sequence in, I want to say, the 60s, maybe 50s. It's got a very early 60s, 50s kind of tone to it in terms of like the aesthetic. And just the dialogue has that kind of tone to it. But it's designed to be a two-player game. So you're playing two characters as they're both trying to break out of jail. One of you will be like distracting a guard or talking to a character as the other one's kind of sneaking behind and like grabbing towels so that you can do the classic, like, one person climbs in the laundry basket, puts towels over themselves, and another person push them out. And there's really interesting sequences where... one of you is digging a hole behind your toilet. So you're shoving the toilet aside and you're like digging a hole with like a shiv sort of thing. And then the other person in the cell next to them is playing lookout. So you're like sticking your head out of the bars and like looking along the railway to see if someone comes, and then you have to warn the person digging to be like, okay, put the toilet back, like someone's coming. And it's like, that's so really interesting. Yeah, it's like a really interesting way of playing like a two-player narrative game.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's super cute.
I think it's definitely worth.
Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. That sounds like a.
It's not like the best game ever, but like for what it is, it's really good.
It
for, like,
sounds like a cool
game.
Experiment.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think A Way Out was also what did they do before? I want to say they did Brothers, but I could be wrong. Yeah, because it's Hazelight Studios, but I swear they did something before. Yeah, they did Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. So
oh damn!
Clearly, they do like their two-player narrative experiences.
Maybe you and I can make a stream out of that.
Yeah, but that's basically the directors. I think this one would go to... I want to give this to God of War, because that one is probably the most interesting in terms of a direction, largely because it did the whole one single camera take the entire time. And I think that's going to win it. I don't know if people are going to keep that in mind when they vote, because again, this is a popularity vote at the end of the day, but I think that's what's going to win it.
It could also be because I think like the average person thinks of like best direction as basically like Game of the Year 2, you know?
Yeah, it didn't win Game of Award, but it's a good game, so it comes in second, so it gets director.
Yeah, so I kind of see I see that either going to God of War or Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think most people are going to split their votes, you know?
Yeah. Also, we skipped it. All best ongoing game. That's clearly going to Fortnite. I don't think anybody's going to expect
Fortnite.
that.
I was about to say, this year's awards is just going to be 50% Fortnite dance. That's it.
God.
I'm not even joking.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, we're going to see Jeff Keighley do a Fortnite dance.
That's how it ends. That's how it's going to end, is just everybody starts doing the Fortnite dance. You have Kojima and Norman Reedus coming out.
If it ends with everyone doing Fortnite dances, that's when you take your cyanide capsule.
Yeah.
Shit.
Like,
then,
honestly, if that happens, I'm going to literally just upload the Fortnite dance as fucking the VGA's 2018 in a nutshell.
I think that's almost like something you could do preemptively, is just VGA 2018s in a nutshell and just have the Fortnite dance. But yeah, so and then the next one.
I'm going to make that shit post once I get done here.
Oh, God damn it.
The next big one is narrative, best narrative.
That one is
also
definitely going to God of War, I think.
I 100% agree.
Yeah,
so that one's also
love dads.
Our three big contenders: God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2. There's also Life is Strange 2 Episode 1, which it still feels so weird that they're putting the Episode 1. It's like literally. Well,
to be fair, if we're putting fucking Detroit up here, then all fucking bets are off.
I was gonna say we have Detroit because I made the defense that it's like, okay, you can put that in best directed. Sure, I can kind of justify.
There's
that.
no fucking justification to put it in best narrative.
No,
that is actually incorrect.
No, this is kind of like Cage's magic / Quantum Dream's magic, is they make these like really beautiful, picturesque games that are going for these like very, like, it almost feels like Oscar bait equivalencies to, like, you know, Game Awards type things. It kind of feels like it's hitting all the same beats, like racism and heavy topics, but it's like the most shitty way of doing them. Like, I'll say this, like, I'm not an expert about this movie. I would say Detroit Become Human is to the VGAs as Crash is to the Oscars.
That's literally what I was about to say. Because, like, it's, like, fucking, what was it? The thing about David Cage, I feel, is that his shit is good enough that if you're not playing it critically, you can get pulled into it. You know, if you're not thinking about, like, if you're not thinking about it too hard, it can be easy to get swept up in the moment of what he's doing and saying.
Yeah.
But literally, and like, I'll say that about basically all of his games except maybe Beyond Two Souls, which is just kind of a fucking clusterfuck on every level. But, like, it can be very easy to get, like, caught up in what he's doing a lot of the time. But the thing is also with all of his games, the second you step back and look at them for 10 seconds, they all completely fall apart.
Yeah. No, 100. And especially if you've played more than one of his games and you start to notice the cageisms, I think, as
Yeah.
people have started to call them, because it's like you just notice he has these very particular way of doing things and these very particular ways of framing characters. He has a very, I don't want to say love, but he has a fascination with homeless people.
Homeless people are so good. We should all be homeless so
The
that we
noble
could be
homeless person.
better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's everyone. That's every
Yeah.
fucking one of his games.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how that got on Best Written, aside from I just don't think there's many other, like, major games.
I swear to God, David Cage has to have some kind of dirt on Jeff Keighley, right? Like, that's all I can think of. Because I cannot imagine...
Jeff Keighley was in those emails. Oh, God.
God.
With the whole Life is Strange 2 Episode 1, I think that is deserving of being on this list. It just feels very weird having just the single episode on here. Because it's not a finished narrative.
the
It's like
story's
the
not
first
even...
20%.
To me, it's a lot like, putting the first act of a movie, like, up for an Oscar. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? This isn't self-contained.
Yeah, and I think this also comes from our general kind of misgivings or kind of annoyance with episodic releases. So I think that maybe part of where this kind of like is coming from, is just I would rather just Life is Strange 2 just come out as a complete story and be done with it. But
yeah, get back to me when it's done.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not really playing this game until it's finished. I looked into episode 1 because I was curious, but I'm like, I'll come back to this when it's done, because I don't want to have to keep coming back every few months. But yeah, I think this one's going to God of War, like, without a doubt.
Honestly, I feel like that's a really safe bet.
I think Spider-Man has a chance because Spider-Man ends really well. It's got a really strong ending, but again, that assumes most people finish it.
Yeah, and also, Spider-Man, unlike God of War, isn't #deep.
True.
So yeah, I think, okay, I'm going to kind of revise my bets a bit now that I've kind of scrolled through this. My prediction is Game of the Year to Red Dead, Best Direction to Spider-Man, and Best Narrative to God of War.
I can see that happening. I can see that 100% happening.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a safe bet.
Where do you think art direction? Moving on to the next like major, we're only going to go through a few of these, but I think art direction is definitely worth the time because we're kind of all interested in like the art aspect of this.
Yeah.
Where do you think that's going to go?
It should go to Oberdin. It should go to Oberdin.
Yeah.
It's not going to go to Oberdin.
Those who don't have the website open like we do, it's the current nominees are AC Odyssey, God of War, Octopath Traveler, Red Dead 2, and Return of Oberdin. And I agree, Return of Oberdin...
My money is on... Actually, you go.
I was going to say, Return of Oberdin, I want to say at least earns a... It's definitely earned a nomination. It deserves basically... It deserves like an acknowledgement because it is like a really cool aesthetic. But in terms of like mass appeal... Yeah. I want to say it's either going to go to Octopath Traveler or God of War. Because God of War is beautiful. Like, holy shit, does that game look amazing when you get those, like, really nice, like, picturesque shots. It's great in that sense. I
actually think it might wind up going to Red Dead. Because, like, it's so realistic.
Yeah.
It's so realistic.
Look at all
that
these
means
browns.
it has the best art.
Look at all this.
It looks just like real life, so that means it has good art.
If I was speaking from a very cynical point, I was thinking that is very likely going to be the case of people being like,
so
realistic means good art direction, right?
Yeah, like I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm completely wrong. And you know what honestly should be here? And it's going to be weird to say this, but like legitimately, it should be nominated in this category. Is fucking Fortnite.
I can see that. No. It's definitely got its own aesthetic.
No other game has had an artistic direction half as influential this year as Fortnite.
But are we talking influential, or are we talking like best?
Like, I mean.
You clearly mean influential.
This is already a popularity contest.
Yeah, true.
So
it's the argument of which is actually artistically the best versus which one's going to get the most popularity votes.
Yeah. And I do think there's something to be said, though, for, like, because that art style has clearly resonated with a lot of people, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it clearly, has some backing to it. So, like
that's part of the reason...
But then again, it technically hasn't been released this year, so that's why it's not here.
Well, and I also want to say that's part of, I think, why it ended up getting picked up over PUBG, because it actually had its own aesthetic.
Oh yeah, without question, and because PUBG looks like shit.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but
I'll say it. PUBG looks like shit.
If you want to kick a horse while it's down, like, be my guest.
I am more than happy to kick PUBG while it's down because it's a bad game.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you're right, and our statements about Red Dead 2's really good realistic depiction, we're not shitting on it. We're not shitting on that. Like, it takes work to do that.
Yeah,
as much as we're being kind of snide about it, that is impressive. It's just, to us, we don't think that that's worthy of best art direction.
There is a lot of artistry that goes into it. There's a lot there's talent in meeting fidelity. Without question. And especially fidelity to a time and place that has long since passed.
Yeah.
I'd say that, like, Tarantino's Hateful Eight, that movie has amazing set design, and it's basically, like, the same idea here,
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, shit that's really creative, shit that's, like, really clever and original, that's, like, sits with you, like... Yeah, like, I've seen high-fidelity games before. I'm going to see more later. But I have never seen something that looks like Oberdin.
No. And that's, again, where I'll also give credit where it's due to God of War, because that single-take camera perspective allows for some very interesting sequences. Have either of you played it at all?
No, not yet.
Okay, so there's a moment that really stands out to me, and I think this is what might cinch it if, again, we were coming from this from, like, we're the judges, or if it was earning my vote, is there's a sequence where Kratos goes into a place, he tells his son, like, okay, you stay here, I'm leaving you, and then he goes to do something. And for the player, it comes off as, like, a few minutes, like, we're only gone for a little bit. And then it transitions back to being where his son is, and his son was like, where the fuck were you? It's been a day. But because we've been in this single shot perspective, we as the player felt it like Kratos, because there was no, like, weird load screens or camera cuts. We felt the time dilation as Kratos did, and I was like, holy shit, that was fucking clever, like, for using that ability of, like, I don't want to say the limitation, but their specific style. That was a really interesting way of, like, incorporating that into the narrative impact.
Yeah, no, that's immensely clever. And, like, there's a lot of good shit going on in the God of War reboot, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of shit going on in that game that is very good. And that is definitely one of its things. And, like, it in general has a really cool, unique perspective that nothing else this year can really lay claim to. So, like, I could definitely see it winning, but then again... it's also just as likely that people will be scrolling through it and just pick Octopath Traveler because it has a really pretty 2D image.
Well, and I was going to say this. I'll give you your moment, Jade, because I know you got some stuff to say. But I think this shows how flash in the pan Octopath Traveler is because everybody was really excited when it came out. It's a fun game for what it's worth. But it seemed like after a week or two, everybody just fell off it hard, and it's not on a lot of the list. I think it's on this and the next one, and that's about it. I think also RPG that comes up later, but not a lot on this list.
Yeah, like, I said a while ago that, like, I feel like if you liked Octopath Traveler, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you you're right, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong either. Enjoy what you enjoy. But that being said... if this game had been released in, like, the 90s, during a period where us getting JRPGs, quality JRPGs, was, like, a consistent thing, I feel like this game would just be kind of discarded, It might find a bit of an audience, but, it wouldn't have captured the buzz that it did.
Sorry to cut you off.
What's special about it?
I think this fits in a very specific genre that we have now, and I don't want to say nostalgia bait because that's kind of unfair. I want to say this is a new genre called the love letter genre.
Yeah,
which is, it's meant
that's
to be
a good
these
way of putting it.
send-ups to stuff from the past. Like, your Shovel Knights, for example, your, while I don't think it's a great game, it is what it is, Ukulele, and this, and things of that nature, where it's meant to be this, like, hey, remember those things of the past? We're going to do it in a very romanticized version, and we're going to add a few flares to it that we can only do with modern tech, but we're going to kind of make this amalgamation of this genre or this era of games. And I think a lot of people are really digging that, but it does become that thing when you look at it and it's like, okay, if this actually was released in that time frame, this would not be really that remarkable. A lot of our love of these things is because it's the love letter nostalgia aspect.
Yeah, it's a lot like, it feels like games that would have been like a 8 out of 10, like back during the height of the genre they're trying to recapture, are getting massively overblown purely because people are so starved for content, in that genre. So, don't get me wrong, not all of them without question. Shovel Knight is a very good game, but again, if you liked Ukulele, cool. But if there had been a lot of 3D platformer collectathons, no, it doesn't hold up in comparison to other shit. There's a reason if you play that and then immediately go play Hat in Time, no, absolutely not. Play Ukulele, then go play Mario Odyssey. It's not even fucking comparable.
Also, while we're taking shots, you are right. While we're taking shots, just because I can hear her steaming right now. Jay, do you want to get your art critiques on Octopath?
Traveler's art direction is a piece of shit. Okay, so I just ruined the comment section. I'm so sorry. I ruined our podcast and we're never going to get traction again, but I have to say it because the thing is that it brings absolutely nothing new to the table for the first part. I can't think of any memorable location. Can you remember any of the locations? No, because they were all really, really bland. And, secondly, you can tell that there are a lot of really talented artists working on this. I'm not saying that the art itself is bad, because it's not. You can't look at that. You can't look at any of this and be like, oh, these were hack artists, because they're not. But whoever was piecing all these things together didn't have a clear sense for what they wanted, or any sense of, distinct style. Because Shovel Knight, yeah, it's a love letter, but, all of the characters in that game have a very distinct Shovel Knight style, very strong silhouettes that frankly anyone could now point out from a mile away and stuff like that. It still has its own flavor. But with Octopath, there's nothing, and it also couldn't decide if it wanted to feel very classic RPG, almost with that little pop-up book twist of it seeming kind of 3D-esque, which would have been great, but it also wanted to be sort of pseudo-realistic in that it had this weirdly rendered realistic water, but then everything else wasn't, so it's oh, it's still classic, but it also has this clashing 3D water, and then none of the sizes or art styles matched. Okay, I'm getting really confused here, but there is this instance where I just threw my hands in the air, because this happens consistently, by the way, but you have your cute little sprites, right? And some of the bosses and some of the monsters you face are other human people. And in these cutscenes, you and these human people will all be the same size, because you're all the same species. And then you'll go into battle, and they'll be 8 times the size of your characters, and in a completely different art style.
Well, to be fair, in defense of that, that's kind of how it was done in the old school very often. If you go replay, the original Final Fantasy, you will see that constantly, nonstop. That was just kind of part of the artistic conventions. That being said, we don't really do it like that anymore for a reason, because it looks bad.
It's just...
I think the best way to put it is that Octopath has very good art, but very bad art direction.
Yeah, and this is the award for art direction, and
Yeah.
everything about it was either bland or inconsistent and incongruent with each other, so it's just absolutely a visual nightmare. And, like, everybody was so hype about it, and everybody kept telling me to play it because I'm a big fan of JRPGs, and, like, I like a lot of the character writing. It's a fun romp. I hate the art direction.
If you add bloom to any game that isn't, like, supposed to be realistic, people will say it has beautiful art.
Ugh, don't get me started on the bloom. Okay, I need to sit down further in this car. Give me water.
Well, we'll wrap this up very quickly so we can stop off and get a drink in this imaginary car ride. The last one, I'm gonna skip over the audio and the music ones because I honestly think those are gonna go to Celeste and probably one of the big three respectively. But I did want to talk about
really quick, just touch on that super fast. Fucking Tetris Effect got snubbed. Tetris Effect should have been for best music.
That's got some great.
It got fucking snubbed.
Yeah, it's made by the guys who made fucking Rez, right? Like,
yeah,
come on,
like Rez and Lumines.
Again, this is the problem of putting out a Game Awards before the year's even proper done, because fucking nominations were done before even not half the games, but a bunch of games were even out. It ends, like, the Game Awards is ending, and then Smash Ultimate is coming out after the fact. So unless Nintendo is gonna fucking drop a hot banger right before it releases, like, I don't know why this awards had to be now rather than like very start of January. But that's beside the point. Not that there's a crazy amount of games coming out, but the nominations started at like the start of November. So
yeah,
that's neither here nor there at this point because it's just how it is. But what do you guys think about the best performance though? Because you got Brian Deschart as Connor, Detroit Become Human. Christopher Judge as Kratos.
It's going to Christopher Judge.
Yeah. Melissa Mahout, I probably mispronounced that name, as Cassandra, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Roger Clark as Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2. And Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker, Marvel's Spider-Man.
Yuri Lowenthal might snipe it. Maybe. And I honestly, he's who I would give it to, because he clearly put a lot of work and effort into that role. But at the same time, Christopher Judge is going to take it. Almost no doubt. Almost no fucking doubt. Like, his voice is literally a meme at this point.
Yeah, he is really good. I feel bad for Melissa Mahout because she is kind of... I don't even want to say she's the dark horse. She's very talented. She did a great job.
I wouldn't say anyone here isn't very talented.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Brian? I don't know.
No,
Brian
he did a really good job.
He did well with the script he had.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's go with that.
Yeah, and it's like,
he
and
did
I think
very well with the script
he's going to get a lot of votes because there is a surprising amount of people who love him because of his scenes with
on Twitter and Tumblr.
What the fuck?
Well, especially because
hella people love that white boy.
Well, also it's because
Why?
he does a great job playing off of Clancy Brown. Like him and Clancy Brown, their scenes are
great banter.
Okay.
Which has also created a lot of porn. I had to say it.
We need to just turn off the internet, like, completely. This is so not worth it.
But yeah, as much as I would love Yuri Lowenthal to win because I absolutely adore Yuri Lowenthal and would die for him, Christopher Judge is gonna win because we all watched that video, that viral one of him reading dad jokes in the Kratos voice. And it was amazing.
You just want Yuri Lowenthal to win because he's Sasuke.
How dare you? I was a Rock Lee girl. Anyway.
Also, really quick, and this is so super minor and nitpicky, but what's up with the picture they used for Christopher Judge? Like, everyone else has, like, professional actors' headshots, or it's them being interviewed, and with Christopher Judge, it's just like they found him, like, outside of a Safeway.
That looks like your dad's Facebook picture.
Yeah, he's a dad now.
Yeah, like, that's pretty much it.
I feel like it fits.
Yeah, because everyone else, it looks like, it literally looks like half of them, they took their, like for Melissa and Brian, it literally looks like their headshots, like their professional headshots are being used.
Yeah.
And then Roger Clark, it looks like from photo shoot in Yuri Lowenthal, it's from what looks like a panel because he has a mic in his hand. So it's just very weird that they're using like, really desperate different photos, but I guess it's what they had, so they're just like, fuck it, who cares? Also, it bothers me that like Roger Clark's is the only one that's in full proper scale.
Yeah, right.
And
that
everyone's
much.
a different like scale, but they have to do the thing where you take like put a separate layer behind it, expand it, and then blur it. Anyone who does video editing and has to deal with like shitty aspect ratios knows what I mean when I say that. But
yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. It feels like, could they just not find another picture? Like, this is so nitpicky and petty.
Yeah, it's being shitty, but
it's not going to bug anyone else except us. But it bugs the shit out of me.
It's just weird. It's like if you looked at any of the other pictures and like God of War was using its box art. That's like a 8x11 framing, and then everyone else is like in a 1920 by 1080 perspective, and then it's like, oh, we got to stretch out the perspective on this because it's not consistent with everyone else's. It's just weird.
Yeah,
but
it's weird.
I think I agree with you. I think this is definitely going to Christopher Judge. Though this one's probably the one I'm most conflicted on because I think everyone has a really strong chance. I just know Melissa's probably the one that's least likely. She's probably the most dark horse in this one. But I think it's going to be Christopher Judge and then maybe Yuri Lowenthal coming in a close second. Mostly because I think people really respect the fact that they did the almost every line in the outside world of Spider-Man was recorded twice. Once for when he's not moving or he's just walking, and once when he's swinging, and they add in like exasperations and stuff as if he was in movement, which was super clever. Like, that's a directing thing that I was like, that was fucking clever. Whoever came up with that was really thinking outside
deserve
the
a
box.
raise.
It's one of those things that most people wouldn't even notice until it's pointed out, and then they go, holy shit, I didn't even notice that. And then when you see it like being done, you're
cool.
like, wow.
When you do shit right, people won't know you did anything at all.
Yeah, it's the most frustrating thing about being creative.
Right.
Is you do that thing that you're like, most people aren't going to notice this, even though this took me an hour, or like in this case, this took like Yuri Lowenthal probably about 2 days to record at least. But most people aren't going to notice until it's like someone literally points at it and goes, "Did you see this?" And then everybody goes, "Oh shit!" So
right.
But yeah,
fucking. One last thing though, because this is bugging me, and I want to talk about it before we wrap up. Yeah. The best action game category bugs the shit out of me. It's so nebulous and so vague. This is a category in which Black Ops 4 is nominated alongside Mega Man 11.
Yeah, well, not only Mega Man 11, but Far Cry 5, Destiny 2, and Dead Cells. Like, we have two platformers.
Make an
in
FPS category, and then make a side-scrolling category.
Yeah.
Done. Like, this is so nebulous and nothing. Like, okay, games focused on combat. That's like 90% of games.
Well, me and you have had this discussion before, both in together and on our channels. Is that like, genre is this really weird amorphous thing when you really get down to it, like, because not only is there an action category with those in mind, but then right below it is the action adventure games. Where's the line between that? Because fucking Shadow of the Tomb Raider is in that, even though it just as well could be in action.
The difference it qualifies is combat with traversal and puzzle solving. But then again, like, God of War is there, and that's way more of an action game than it is like
Mega Man 11 technically has puzzles, because fucking platforming, you definitely have to be thinking about your fucking problem solving.
Well, it's certainly traversal. It certainly cares more about traversal than fucking,
Same for Destiny 2 and Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 is a big fucking open world
arbitrary
game.
Like, again, this is super petty, and it does not matter, but it just bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's the worst. Anytime genre comes up in video games, it's always the worst, because it ends up being this like the most clusterfuck thing where it's like a lot of blurred lines, and like nobody knows where like one thing ends and one begins, and I just get frustrated anytime it comes up.
Yeah.
Oh, also, you wanted to mention it, the esports nominations for Sonic Fox.
Sports nominations? Oh, yeah. Also, y'all go do me a favor and vote for Sonic Fox for best esports competitor, because he is the fucking best. He is
love
the
him.
best boy. He is perfect.
I would die for
I
him.
love him with all of my heart. Go give him your vote. He has earned it.
Look at that smile. He's so wholesome.
Fucking, I have never seen a more big dick move than winning Evo and immediately going on Twitter and being like, I'm gay. I'm also the best in the world at Dragon Ball FighterZ, so you better step the fuck up.
Yeah!
It was so fucking cool.
Not only that, I thought you were going to go in a different way with that in terms of Big Dick's energy. Sonic Fox donates 10K of his Injustice 2 Pro Series Grand Prize money to his opponent's family.
Yeah.
Like, that happened 2 weeks ago.
That's the other thing, is he's also, like, the nicest person
Yeah.
in the fucking world.
That's where I was going
fucking
with that.
ridiculous. Yeah,
He's
no,
so sweet.
He is the best. He is literally the best. Fucking go watch his Dragon Ball FighterZ Grand Finals. It was, like, probably the best Grand Finals of the year. It was, like, he is a great person. Give him your vote.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
He 100% deserves it.
I just want to see him walk on stage after winning in his fursuit. Please, God.
God, that was so good.
But yeah, we've been going we're edging about 2 hours now. Any final thoughts? Anything you guys are excited about upcoming that you're looking forward to?
Smash.
Smash, yeah.
Smash.
That's Smash.
Smash.
Jade,
Wow, I was expecting that to be longer.
Smash.
Okay.
Yeah. Are there other games coming out that
other
aren't
than
Smash?
Persona?
DMC 5?
Well, in terms of like the immediate future, I think he's saying.
Oh.
No, I mean like ever.
The Persona dancing games are coming to PS4.
That's going to be really unfortunate for them, because I'm going to be too busy playing Smash.
Yeah, as well as like, why are we not going to be playing on Just Cause 4? Like, come on.
Okay, I've never actually touched any of those games.
They're good.
Oh.
I actually didn't know that game was coming out until I looked up what's coming out this month, and it's like, wow, that game's coming out at a very unfavorable time for a series that's already kind of underground.
Yeah, it feels like they're sending that out to die.
Yeah, because everybody's gonna play Smash. Like, that's a guaranteed at this point.
Yeah, that's probably going to be like the entire next podcast is just us talking about Smash.
But hey, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be game awards and Smash talk.
Yeah, but yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So, do you want to plug our stuffs before we send our viewers off?
Think that's good.
Probably wise. Y'all go first.
Anyway, this is Jade signing out, or going to take a nap. You can find me on my art blog, JBS Art. There's a little dash in it. We'll put a thing.
Link down below.
And anyway, please commission me because I need to eat food.
I'm Fox Cage. You can find me on the YouTubes, FOXCADE. Talk about mostly games, but occasionally talk about the animes. I recently talked about One Piece, and I do a plan to talk about in the future Digimon Tamers. I put a vote on Twitter, mostly asking to see if people wanted it. I really didn't care if people said yes because I was going to do it anyway. But and then I also have, yeah, exactly. And I also have 2 videos coming out. One is the Bayo 2 video that I promised months ago that I still haven't done yet, which will be out by the end of the year, as well as, I think this is the first time I've actually said it, I also have an Arkham Asylum video coming out very soon, so you guys can look forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that one.
And you can also find me on Twitter at SuperFoxcade, so same name, but add the super in front of it. If you at Foxcade, just the Foxcade, you're not going to get me, because Codex has made that mistake. But yeah, and then I'll pass that on to you, Ryan.
I am Ryan Seals. You are watching this on my channel currently. You're already here. Hit subscribe. You've probably already hit subscribe. Fucking what do I have coming up? Persona 5 Part 5 is coming out soon. That's what I'm currently working on. After that, I'm planning on doing a Mega Man X retrospective, so that's going to be fun. Expect some Smash-related content, because that's also going to, like, consume my entire life. And yeah, there will be more of these in the near future.
Pull over, I want a taquito.
No, make your own taquito.
We're in a car!
Make a taquito out of lint.
Oh my god.
Fuck you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all for listening. Peace.
Take me down. Take me down.